Look, I get it, people. You like Saben Lee. He's a familiar face on a team full of newcomers. He's a great teammate, he's fun-loving, and easy to root for. And when he came to Phoenix on his original 10-day contract, he was actually very playable. Like Sundo says, he had a serious case of can't go back all-star-itis. Lee was not only finishing well at the rim last season, like admittedly he is doing again recently, and despite his insane Michael Kidd-Gilchrist-esque hitch that he has in his jumper, he was actually knocking down his threes at a respectable percentage. But of course, you know, if you've watched the Suns for more than a year, that all changed as soon as he was given a slightly more permanent two-way contract. Now, most of this season, we've only seen Saben come into the game during garbage minutes, of which the Suns have not earned many. Those minutes usually saw him playing with blinders on that only allowed him to see the rim and the opportunity to score some points for himself. But I will admit that has changed lately. He's not only back in the rotation while Bradley Beal is recovering from a broken nose that had to be reset over the All-Star break, and of course his hamstring injury that he had quietly been playing through and aggravated during the last game before All-Star weekend versus the Pistons. But Saben's actually playing well. He seems to have accepted the fact that his three-point shooting is not great. He's no longer chucking up the Okogie-like threes that the defenses scheme to get him open for. Instead, he's driving those into the paint, and more often than not, he's either finishing at the rim or getting fouled. Or he's driving, collapsing the defense a little bit, and kicking it out to open shooters. Having said all of that, I've still been holding out hope that a better option would arise for Phoenix to pursue. And I was beginning to think that was not going to happen. First, it was Danilo Gallinari. He spurned the Suns for the Bucks. Then, and it was very reminiscent of last year when Reggie Jackson chose Denver over Phoenix, my number one desired buyout candidate, DeLon Wright, chose Miami. But luckily for the Suns, on the last day of the season, that a player could get bought out from a team and still be allowed to play in the playoffs, a better 6'5" guard was bought out just in the nick of time from Monty's Detroit Pistons. The question is he really better than Saben Lee? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. I'll explain, but first this video is brought to you by BetUS, where obviously you can bet on all types of sports and play casino games, but here's what I'm going with today. The Suns are basically 10-point favorites versus the Rockets tonight. I just don't think after what I've seen that it's going to be difficult at all for Houston to keep it within 10 points. Honestly, they could beat the Suns. And if you were to put $100 down on the Rockets, you would win $340. Right now, BetUS is hooking you up with a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. That's on deposits up to $2,500. Make sure you guys use our link so that you get that bonus. And shout out to BetUS. Shake Milton has recently been bought out by Detroit after playing 4 games for them. Since he spent so much time and had his most success in Philly, naturally, I turned to my personal friend and friend of the channel, Romp. He not only runs Romp 2.0, an NBA content channel, he also has a Sixers channel called Sixers Talk with Romp. And he's very honest about the players that come through the city of brotherly love. He hates some of their players, and he has no reason to be gassing up one of their former players. First, I asked him, should the Suns pursue Shake Milton? And he said, yeah. Like it was an obvious yeah. Like, what a stupid question, you bozo type yeah. He said he's a straight up bucket and silky smooth, especially around the rim. He pointed out that Shake averaged 20.3 points per game and 7.2 assists for the Sixers over an 11-game span as a starter while Harden was out with injuries last season. He can play the point guard position decently, and he's good at running the pick and roll, but he's a 2-guard, a long 6'5", bucket-getting 2-guard. Romp thinks that he gets better in the playoffs, as some players do. And both of these traits give me great vibes if, God forbid, Book or Beal go down for an entire playoff series. He can shoot the 3, but he kind of has a slow release, and that's not the focus of his game. Getting to the rim, finishing, and scoring in the mid-range. That's his game. And he's above average at both. In 2021, he averaged 13 points per game the entire season and finished 12th, receiving 3 votes for 6th man of the year, which is closer to the role that he would be asked to play in Phoenix. He's not going to be the actual 6th man, but he would be coming off the bench, right? Defensively, he's long, but not great. But not terrible, which sounds like something Frank Vogel could work with, considering we know he is a defensive coach. And he has turned the Suns' defense around this year after a terrible start. Now, he loves and excels at driving the basketball to the rim, but he can shoot too. He is right-handed, but when it comes to finishing at the rim, he's completely ambidextrous. If you watch him play, you'll see him hitting all kinds of left-hand layups. And rumor has it that Phoenix almost signed him in the most recent offseason. And if they're smart and haven't made a handshake deal with Saban already, they need to, and I assume they will, attempt to handshake Milton a contract for the rest of the season. God bless Saban Lee. I truly wish him the best in his NBA journey, but Shake Milton is literally bigger and better. Tell me if you agree, and we'll see you guys soon for the next live stream.